Number 5, this is one of my favorites, an inspiring and commanding vision. People give to visions. They give to plans and goals and dreams. And I want to talk to you real quick. I want to talk to you the difference between need-based appeals and vision-based appeals. The church is a master at need-based appeals. I travel all the time. And almost every weekend I pick up somebody's bulletin, and almost every weekend there is a need. You know, we need nursery workers. We need children's workers. It's always nursery and children. Every bulletin in America has children and nursery. So here's what we here's what we typically do. Nobody understands guilt more than a pastor or a mom. Nobody. So here's what we do. I'm going to talk about volunteerism, and then I'm going to show you how that works financially. The nursery worker calls you and says, hey, our church is growing. We got young couples coming. Our little nursery is filled up. We need some nursery workers. So typically, next week's bulletin, there'll be a little bulletin announcement, nursery workers needed. And you'll get up there as the pastor or whoever makes announcements, and they'll say, hey, we're really blessed. We got young couples coming to our church. Last week they tell me our nursery was full. We need some nursery workers. So would you please call the nursery coordinator this week and get on the schedule? Thursday comes, the nursery coordinator calls the pastor, says, hey, nobody volunteered. So the pastor's thinking, well, maybe they weren't listening, so I'll just turn on the guilt just a little bit, I won't overwhelm them, but they weren't paying attention, so I'll get them this week. So he gets up there this week, and, he says, man, we're just so blessed, a lot of young couples, maybe some of you didn't hear this last week, but our nursery is just filled to capacity, and we really need more workers if this thing is going to be effective. And then we kind of just a little twinge of guilt. We probably say something like, our poor little nursery workers are just overloaded, so we need your help. So please call the nursery coordinator this week and get on the schedule. Thursday comes, nobody has volunteered. So now the pastor is thinking, okay, that's 2 weeks. I am challenged. So I'm going to ratchet up the guilt meter a little bit more. So he goes to the platform this week and he says, for 2 weeks now I've told you that we need nursery workers, and it would be a shame if we didn't have a nursery. Because we got these young couples. I mean, what if we lose young couples? We could lose young couples out of this church because, young moms aren't going to leave their kids back there. And so I'm counting on you. I mean, I really need your help. Call the nursery coordinator. Thursday comes, nobody's called. So this is the 4th week. So this is it. I'm ready. Pastor walks out there. He takes a cute little girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, got a little dress on. He's got a little boy with a little slugger hat on, a little bat in his hand. He says, see these wonderful 2 little kids right here? This little beautiful girl? Nobody will work in the nursery. She's going to grow up to be a prostitute because none of you will work in the nursery. And this little boy is going to grow up to be a drug addict because nobody will work in the nursery. Come on. We've all, maybe not that extreme, but oh, yes, we have. That's why y'all are laughing. So in the arena of giving, here's what it looks like when we're receiving an offering. Hey, and we all do. I mean, listen, the first church I pastored in Siloam Springs, Arkansas, the finances were really tough. I came into a situation, the attendance had kind of fallen off. And so I understand. I understand the pressures and the stresses and the anxiety that comes along with that. I came to that church in December of 1993 as their pastor, and the second Sunday of January, we had one of those snow days. And it was one of those that, comes at the last minute, like they can happen here in Oklahoma and Arkansas. I mean, it's like in the, 2 or 3 in the morning it starts snowing. So you don't really have time to get the announcement out. Of course, it was before we all had email blasts and texting and all that stuff. So literally, on Sunday morning, I stood out on the parking lot to announce that we weren't having church. But the church was in such financial straits that as I was telling them, I said, but by the way, could you pay your tithes while you're here? And I was taking their tithes and sending them home. So. I understand. I understand. So there are times that, an emergency comes up or a crisis comes up. But listen, some churches operate that way. And they're always standing up saying, we got to pay our bills, we're behind on our bills, or we're behind on the mortgage, or, our giving is down. and that's need-based. You got to give or we're going to be in trouble. Now listen, let me teach you something really powerful here. When you do that, people will give out of pity. But people do not respect what they pity. Either a ministry or people. People don't respect people they pity or ministries they pity. And when you go at it that way, you're going to get pennies and not dollars. Now, on the other hand, is what I call vision-based. And that is, keeping this vibrant vision. Every one of you have a vision, and when you, let's go back to the nursery. Okay, instead of this little girl's going to grow up to be a prostitute, and we got to have you in the nursery, or we're going to close it down. How much different for the pastor to walk out and have a toddler or carry a baby and say, "See this baby right here? This baby represents a new family to our church." And those of you that work in the nursery, you're giving a mom and dad an opportunity to sit and worship God and grow together in the Lord and become stronger in their family. And not only that, those of you that work in the nursery, you're going to be the first spiritual impression upon this child's life. You're going to sing, "Jesus loves me," and you're going to kiss that baby and love that baby and change that baby and coddle that baby. You're going to be the first impression. Now, those are two different ways to get the same thing done. There are two ways to get me to drink tea. One is to beat me with a stick to drink unsweetened tea, or the second way is to turn it into syrup, and I'll drink it all day long. We got to learn how to turn our ministries into syrup. And so vision-based says we have an opportunity. When you give, we are impacting this community. When you give, people's lives are being changed. When you give, when I went to Broken Arrow, the church there, this just illustrates the point. My predecessor had been a real need-based appeal kind of personality about raising money. So the church had 40 acres of property that they purchased. They owed $400,000. And so the pastor, my predecessor, was trying to motivate the people. And so here was his, we always come up with these slogans or logos or something to kind of be the rally point. The slogan of the church for the campaign to pay off the property was, "Stay the course." Now y'all are, come on, that doesn't motivate anybody. Stay the course. And nobody was giving either. When I got there, it was on a major intersection, and the morale was down, and the giving was down, and the attendance was down, and there was even conversation about selling off the 10 acres, that 10 prime acres on the corner to, maybe a convenience store or somebody, and using the money that was raised from that to develop the rest of the 30 acres. And so I just said, hey, before we do that, can we just, can we give this a year? Can we just see what God might do? And so my topic was beyond ourselves. That this is beyond us. This is about God. This is beyond us. This is not about this church. This is about this community. This is not about us. It's about our kids and our grandkids and future generations. And I would stand up there and say, you know what? If we sell those 10 acres, there's going to be a convenience store in front of our church. You think about that. God gave us 40 acres, and yeah, we've got some debt on this, but just think about that. Out of all the things that could be on that 40 acres, a convenience store or a hospital or retail, it's going to be a church that is going to have an impact for God. That's vision-based. In 1994, in 1 year, the people paid off $400,000 in debt because they saw a vision of where the future was going. So inspiring and commanding visions will work. People are more motivated by vision casting than by need-based or guilt-producing methods, appeals.